Hey everybody, so today we're going to talk about drama terms that you're going to record in your notes. You'll have a quiz on these drama terms and you will be responsible for knowing them at the end of the unit. So when we talk about drama, drama in general means a play, right? So this could be just a regular play, it could be a musical with dialogue, something like that. Specifically, when we're talking about Shakespeare, the first term that we're talking about is a tragedy. A tragedy is a play that deals with something tragic, tragic events. It's unhappy. When you know you're reading a Shakespeare tragedy, you know that people are going to die. And look what it says here. It says, especially concerning the downfall of the main character. So look, when we're going into Romeo and Juliet, there is nothing that should tell you to expect a happy ending. It's not going to happen. It's a tragedy. So take a minute and write those notes down. Word number 2, this is called a soliloquy, and it is very strange spelling, but what is really important about this is that it says soul, like solo, like one person. So this is an act of speaking one's thoughts aloud when by oneself. So, or regardless of any hearer. So we have a character on stage who is going to step aside and is going to reveal their internal thoughts. That is called a soliloquy. They're speaking, the other people on stage cannot hear them, and they're revealing something to the audience. Every tragedy is also going to have comic relief. Comic relief is exactly what it sounds like. It's when there's something funny in the play to break up the tension. You know that friend of yours who at lunch, when like somebody just called somebody out on something and it gets really awkward and tense, there's somebody who knows how to say something funny. Shakespeare is the one who put a name to this with comic relief, where something tense is happening in the play and now he's going to use a character, a scene, or some dialogue to relieve the tension of the scene by making us laugh. The next term is an allusion. An allusion we've talked about this year. It is a reference to something that is supposed to be well known, whether that be in pop culture, literature, religion, mythology, right? So one of the allusions that we're going to see in Romeo and Juliet is an allusion to Cupid, right? The little cute guy with the arrow who, if you get shot by Cupid's arrow, you fall in love. Okay, a direct or indirect reference to something that everyone is supposed to know about. That's called an allusion. All right, dramatic irony. So, irony in general, you've studied this before, is this idea that the opposite of what you think is going to happen is going to happen. In dramatic irony in a play, I'm just going to move that up there so you can see it better. Basically what happens is the audience knows what's going to happen, but the characters on stage don't know what's going to happen. So, for example, you know when you're watching a horror movie and you're yelling at that person, "Don't go upstairs, you idiot, don't go upstairs." That's because you know what's going to happen, but the character doesn't. That's called dramatic irony. The audience knows something, the characters don't. Term 6 is a foil. A foil is a character who is like exactly opposite someone else. The idea is that it highlights the difference. So for example, you have a character who is very sweet, and then you have a character who's really nasty. You have a character who's very handsome, you have a character who's very ugly. They make their foils. Okay? The next term is a paradox. A paradox is a statement that contradicts itself and still seems true somehow. A contradictory statement, right here, jumbo shrimp. Shrimp are supposed to be small, so calling them jumbo seems ridiculous. That's a paradox, okay? Another paradox would be if you would say someone yelled quietly. That doesn't make any sense because a yell is supposed to be loud, but adding the word quietly, like that's a paradox, okay? And our last one is a tragic flaw. A tragic flaw, you know what a flaw is, right? A flaw is like when there's just something wrong. This is when a character has some sort of flaw that leads to their downfall. So examples, maybe they're prideful, right? And they're going to like defend themselves because they feel like someone has talked badly about them and they can't let it go. And that means that that's going to lead to their end. Maybe they have a lack of judgment, so they just don't make the right decisions. When we think through mythology, if you've ever heard of Achilles, Achilles had a physical tragic flaw, which was that he had a very weak heel, and that was his downfall because that ended up being how someone could defeat him, right? So, what is it that the character, what is like wrong with them, almost in a way, usually emotionally, that leads to them getting in trouble, or in this case, remember it's a tragedy, so we're looking at their death. So, what is actually the thing, the problem with their personality that caused that death? That is a tragic flaw. Okay, so that's your drama terms. You will need them for your quiz throughout the unit and on your unit test. Thanks.